Hello and welcome to our June virtual opening. My name is Emma Wilson and delighted that you could join us. This month's feature artists are Karen Blair, Greg Day, Dietlind Vander Schaaf, and Dale Roberts. What an absolute knockout lineup. Thank you. Thank you to our artists who inspire, and thank you to our collectors who continue to support the arts. It's June here in Maine. We wait for summer all year round, and we're so happy to have it. So if you happen to be in the area, stop in and see us at 154 Middle Street, 7 days a week, 10 to 5:30, or you can always find us 24/7 at portlandartgallery.com. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and subscribe to our newsletter at portlandartgallery.com. We also produce a weekly podcast, Radio Maine with Dr. Lisa Belisle, where Lisa engages in thoughtful and interesting conversations with members of our community. You can follow us on our YouTube station, Radio Maine with Dr. Lisa Belisle. Now let's dive into hearing from our artists. I'd like to introduce artist Karen Blair. Karen states about this body of work for her show, "It is times of transition that leave the greatest impressions and lasting memories. We remember when we graduated from high school or college, when we met our best friend, or when a loved one died. Visual experiences can leave the same lasting impression. We may not remember mid-afternoon of a perfectly beautiful day, but we will never forget the sunset. It is these moments of transition that I often record in my paintings." Using oil paint and oil sticks as her medium of choice, Karen explores the alchemy of pigment and oil as a potent source of magic. Karen earned her Bachelor of Fine Arts degree from the University of North Carolina at Greensboro and takes classes at the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts. Please welcome artist Karen Blair.
Good morning. I'm Karen Blair, and I'm thrilled to be coming to Portland, Maine, to the Portland Art Gallery. I have a show in June. It opens June 6th. Please come and say hello. I'm standing in front of Wave, a very large painting, part of a series that I have been working on for this show. And we see behind me areas of intense mark making and color that come together in these great crescendos of movement, sandwiched between calm, quiet areas of contemplation and stillness. I'm interested in not just the visual of a painting, but bird song and the movement of birds and the way that mist or wind feels on one's face, the way that light reacts to objects. There is a whole immersive world I'm trying to capture, and it becomes part of the quest to gain a three-dimensionality on a two-dimensional surface. Another way to achieve this is through the use of layering, which can begin with some ink marks on a raw canvas, a layering of washes of acrylic paint, more marks with oil pencil, and finally oil paint and oil stick applied in their glorious, juicy way to create this sense of one form emerging from or retreating behind another. And this, I hope, lets the viewer be drawn both into the experience of the painting, but also into the surface of the painting itself. So we can step back in my paintings and perhaps discern the landscape, see hints of a boat or other things that emerge from these marks, or we can come closer and lose ourselves in the series of marks and areas of color and let our eye be drawn back and forth. Again, I'm Karen Blair, and I will see you at the Portland Art Gallery.
And now I'd like to introduce artist Greg Day. There is much anticipation at the gallery for Greg's show because it's all about the installation. And here's a little bit about why. Greg was born in Brunswick, Maine, and grew up in rural Brooks, Maine. From an early age, he was fascinated by space, light, and the urban landscape, and became determined to study architecture. He enrolled at the University of Kansas, where he obtained degrees in engineering and architecture, and it was during his time in college that Greg discovered his passion for painting. Upon graduating from the university, Greg moved to New York City, where he worked as a lighting designer and architect, while also furthering his painting practice with the help of a Ludwig Vogelstein Foundation grant. Greg has since become a devoted and active artist and considers himself a builder of paintings. And that is why, for the gallery, the installation is so important. It's almost the final act of building the painting. Please welcome artist Greg Day.
Thank you, Emma. And thanks to the whole team at Portland Art Gallery and to all of the artists. It's a very special group. And hello to all of you. I'm honored to be showing alongside Dietlind, Dale, and Karen. I'm excited to introduce this new body of work, and especially excited to finally be showing KNCO3, which I started almost exactly 20 years ago in my studio on Congress Street in Portland. This painting is where I first started exploring my own tweak of Prussian blue, which I call Neckar blue. The Neckar is the river that passes through Heidelberg on its way to the Rhine and out to the North Sea. This blue runs throughout the show. This is also the first showing of a new, more 3D technique I've been developing. So check out all of the pieces either in person or through the Portland Art Gallery website. Thank you, everyone.
Now I'd like to introduce artist Dietlind Vander Schaaf. Dietlind describes that she creates pieces that embody the dynamic interplay between chaos and order, that convey an emotional tone through texture and pattern, and they use mark making as a way to communicate what she finds most lovely, haunting, and curious about the human condition. Dietlind holds an MFA from the University of San Francisco and an MA from the University of Southern Maine. She received grants from the Maine Arts Commission and International Encaustic Artists, attending Space Artist Fellowship from the Hemera Foundation, and the Jurors Award in association with the 10th International Encaustic Conference. She is an absolute joy to represent and always working to help teach and build community wherever she goes. Please welcome artist Dietlind Vander Schaaf.
Hi, my name is Dietlind Vander Schaaf, and I am coming to you from my studio in Westbrook, Maine. Thank you for listening to the virtual remarks for the June show at Portland Art Gallery. I'd like to just take a moment and thank the gallery. The Portland Art Gallery is a fantastic gallery to be represented by. Everybody that works there does a really just a bang-up job, and it's a great place to be associated with. So thank you, Portland Art Gallery. I also want to thank all the collectors that are out there. You allow me to do what I do, and I really appreciate it. I can't tell you how meaningful it is when some of you come up to me at a show or send me an email with a picture of where you've hung a piece of mine in your home. It's just really a privilege to know that my work is living on in other people's homes and bringing them pleasure. So I wanted to just talk a little bit about my work and the process because it's kind of unique. So I paint with encaustic. It's a really ancient form of painting that dates back to Greco-Roman times. If you want to hear more about the history of it, do reach out to me. I can send you some really great resources. But basically, it involves working with a pigmented beeswax-based paint. So my paint palette is heated to 200 degrees. I work with natural bristle brushes, and I fuse between layers of my painting with a heat gun or a torch. So it's kind of different than regular paintings. I also use a lot of encaustic on my paintings. So I work in many, many layers. I'm showing this month with Dale Roberts, who also works with encaustic, but he has a totally different process than mine. So I encourage you, if you're seeing the work in person, to take a look at both of our paintings and notice the differences. I work in many, many layers, and they're fused between. I use different kinds of materials in addition to the encaustic paint. I use 23 karat gold leaf. I use graphite, and I use India ink and oil paint on the surface. The paintings that are in my show this month are extensions of work I've been doing for a long time primarily. So the two pieces that are behind me are going to be in the show. And these pieces, they're abstract paintings, but there's a lot of references in them that you might notice. Of course, I welcome whatever the viewer brings to the painting as well. But for me, there's an element of a cityscape. There's sort of something emerging and dissolving. There's references to birds, to sunlight. The 23 karat gold leaf that I use in my work, it has a very specific symbolic reference for me. It it represents the divine spark that's in each one of us. It's something I started working with about 10 years ago when I went through my yoga teacher training. And it's pretty much a signature in all of my work. There's also going to be some pieces in the show that reference water and have a lot to do with looking at the surface of water, seeing down through the layers to what's beneath it, seeing the ripples and the wind on the surface of it, using the idea of water as a metaphor for ourselves, for the things that get disturbed inside of us and the things that settle. Nature is just a big source of inspiration for me in all of my work. And then finally, if you get to see the show in person or online, you're going to see some of the newer work that I've been exploring this past winter. And this is a series called Vita. That's an Italian word meaning life. And this series is a little bit different. It's not specifically using references from nature. I'm actually bringing the written word back into my work. This is where I started with my art many years ago, but I wanted to bring it in a way that wasn't immediately obvious. So what I did with this series is I used graphite and India ink between layers of encaustic to write a line from a poem or a quote that I found particularly meaningful. And I actually did this with my eyes closed in most cases and using my non-dominant hand so that it's not legible, but the language is there. However, it's become part of the visual language of the piece. So the poem or the quote is illegible. It gives way to form and gesture and line. And if you look at some of these pieces, you will be able to pick out little parts of that underneath layers of encaustic, as well as with the oil paint and the 23 karat gold leaf. So I hope to meet many of you at the opening. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you.
And now I'd like to introduce artist Dale Roberts. Philadelphia-based artist, Dale was raised in upstate New York and has fond childhood memories of fishing, building forts, and exploring the rural area in which he lived. His early attention to the world around him has never ceased. His exquisite work with encaustic painting reflects a careful attention to detail in his everyday life, whether he is out running near his Pennsylvania home or traveling abroad. Dale first learned about encaustic painting at the Rochester Institute of Technology in Henrietta, New York, and found that this ancient medium helped him capture a unique perspective. He is fascinated by the weathering and corrosion of subjects and the possibility of embodying impermanence in art. Please welcome artist Dale Roberts.
Hi, everyone. To begin with, I'd like to thank Emma for that introduction and to the entire staff at the Portland Art Gallery for all their work, and much of it is done behind the scenes. I'd also like to thank you, the viewer, for your interest and support. And it's something that is often a very solitary endeavor. And really appreciate this opportunity. So my name is Dale Roberts. I'm a native of Waterville, New York. And I've been drawing and painting from the age of about 7 or 8. And I spent countless hours outside as a kid, fishing and building forts, and then later on drawing and painting from life at the age of maybe 12 or 13. And I never knew that you could make a living as an artist, or if that was really a thing. I just knew it was something I really enjoyed doing. So I ended up going to school for art, and I currently hold an associate's degree from Rochester Institute of Technology and a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree from Tyler School of Art, just outside of Philadelphia. And currently I reside outside of Philadelphia with my wife, Lisa, and we have 2 sons that are married, and we have a home and a studio here where I make these paintings and drawings. So a little bit about the work itself. The work I produce is done from life, and that's whether through the process of color studies and drawings that are done plein air on site, because encaustic is not particularly portable, or from the study of still life setups that I have in my studio. In any case, my pieces are about light, texture, atmosphere, color, things like entropy, essentially the ineffable aspects of the visible. I'm painting and drawing with an emotional aim as I dialogue with life. I'm hoping to get that emotional connection with the viewer. Many of my works are carried out using the ancient medium of encaustic. That's something that I started using right after art school. There wasn't much written about it at the time. And I've been doing this medium principally for probably 43 or so years now. I also love to paint with other mediums. I paint with gouache, watercolor, cassine, pastel, and each one of those mediums sort of informs the other one. I see them as just means to an end for that interpretation of life. And it's interesting how certain things that I'll do in a medium like pastel might give me an idea for how to handle something in encaustic. I approach encaustic like a painter. I think of it as a medium that I paint with. Another thing that I do is metal point drawing, and that includes silver point and gold point, copper point. Essentially, it's a deposit left behind in the act of drawing on a specially prepared ground. So what you're seeing is actually a little film of either silver or gold or copper, and those films mature and they oxidize and different things happen to them. Different colors sort of are produced. And it's very time consuming and meditative. I tend to use it for more sustained work, but it has a kind of a mysterious quality. I suppose some of that is to do with the ancient nature of it. So it dovetails rather well with encaustic for me. Often I'll turn my paints on to let them heat up for encaustic, and I'll begin my time in the studio by working on a drawing, whether silver point or charcoal or pencil, as warm up. And now and then I'll just shut the paints off and keep drawing. The current show that I'll be having here in June includes work from travels abroad, as well as still life from my studio and some landscapes from the local area where I live. There's a large encaustic behind me that's called Behind and Away. And that was done from a trip that we were in Netherlands last fall. And I was just struck by the beautiful, limpid, pearly light. And the fact that the backyard, instead of being grass, was water, and just found that to be so tranquil and beautiful. Next to that is one called Lemon Burst, and that's from a trip that we took to Greece. And on these trips, I'll make sketches and take color notes, and sometimes be able to make color studies. I will take photographs for additional information, but that's how these paintings are produced. And most of them have many layers. My aim is to get something that is unique, and hopefully something that you might wonder, how in the world was that done? These encaustic paintings are encaustic from start to finish. I don't do much of any pre-drawing. I just start painting. Another one that you can see behind me here is a still life setup that actually is sort of an ongoing thing in my studio. And I just make drawings and paintings from that whenever it strikes my interest. And that is silver point, copper point, and ink wash in the same drawing. So all of these things, they have a connection. They have to do with deeply investigating life, understanding what's in front of me in a deeper way. And also a lot of it is about sophisticated play. I really have a good time out there in the studio. Just enjoy doing this. Yeah, there's certainly a struggle aspect to it. It takes a lot of work and discipline to do these things. But it's also something that is so enjoyable. If I'm here till I'm in my 90s, I'll continue as long as I can. I just find it endlessly fascinating to do. So a final thank you for allowing me this opportunity to share a few thoughts about the work itself, and for the gallery, the chance to show a few of my things in this. It's such a vibrant and artistically diverse gallery. The quality of work, the seriousness of the other artists, and the dedication of the staff is inspiring. So I'm delighted to be able to show. I'm looking forward to the show in June and hopefully seeing many of you there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karen, Greg, Dietlind, and Dale for your remarks, and thank all of you for joining us. Until next time, be well, stay curious, and keep in touch. Thank you.